Okay, before I talk in depth about my issues with this turkey of a movie, I have to open up a can of worms known as anime adaptations in Hollywood. Someone must have used a monkey paw or a wishing box. I just realized I should totally do Wish Upon. Because it seems like any anime or manga adaptation is just cursed, regardless of anything related to the idea of film production. I hope to the muses above that Alita Battle Angel is at the very least stunning enough for me to not over-examine the small parts of the movie and any problems I might have there. Or maybe even Detective Pikachu, since that movie looks really that good, and I wasn't even expecting it. But until either movie comes out, we've had films such as Dragon Ball Evolution, Ghost in the Shell, Full Metal Alchemist, Speed Racer, and Astro Boy. I actually liked Astro Boy a lot, but that's because Nicolas Cage. And a few from the early ages of film adaptation.
Hey, yo! Shut! Yo, where the hell am I?
Hey, that is not your cue.
As you can probably tell, most, if not all of these films I've addressed are American-released films. Why? Kinda simple. Because, thanks to Hollywood, these are the more accessible to a wider audience overall, but mostly made worse by studio mandates primarily. And of course, Death Note is a proud member of that list of being bad, to be completely honest, but surprisingly did it in spite of no studio interference. According to an interview with the director of the film, Shane Black, WB wanted to lose the Shinigami, or Gods of Death, for the non-weebs around us, and, kind of change how the book worked. But it's not like the director completely misunderstood and misused Ryuk, right? I guess I should start that review thing I've been kind of setting up. This, without further ado, is Netflix's Death Note. Another disclaimer, however, before we go in. I will be comparing it to where this adaptation, in quotations, stole its title from, as, they decided to be like, hey, we're making this story based on this concept, and then they decided to be like, hey, what if we fucked it up even worse, and somehow made something worse than SAO, or SAO2, or the most of Reki Kawahar's work, actually. But, we've been out here, so let's move on. The intro, okay, but the 1983 song Reckless is not my choice for the beginning of this film, kinda? Wait, is that supposed to be the smartest person doing their fucking other people's homework in the goddamn open? Okay, I don't know how the rest of your high schools might have worked in anywhere else in the US, but I was pretty good in classes in North Carolina, but I was also very lazy. So, near the top in testing, very high in classes, but if I were to do anyone else's homework, I wouldn't do it. I'd just let them copy me. I'd just be like, hand them my sheet and move on. I was passing high math classes with a 97 while playing literal fucking Skyrim back in the day on a fucking shitty ass computer. And my teacher knew. He saw me playing. He didn't give me tips because, he was an old man that didn't know how to play Skyrim. But he saw me playing. He just knew that my scores were good enough to not care. What I'm saying is, intelligence breeds laziness. And he only did half of that homework? And he got paid that much? Damn, I should have charged money to just do that. Well, I should have charged money to let them copy my work. Wow. I should have charged money. Yeah, I'm just realizing this now, like, fucking goddamn 4 years after the point that I could have done that. Anyway, ominous music starts playing as a notebook falls from the sky, as well as a dramatic rain and thunder combination. Very distinct from the show, or anime, where it becomes dead fucking silent when it appears in our world.
At a faster rate than has ever occurred in our recorded history.
There's a small thing here too that I'll get back to later when it comes up in the dialogue, but you know, regardless. Rain begins to fall heavier, moving white boy McFrosted Tips inside. However, the local bully, because of course there's a bully, it's an American film, is picking on another character, and our protagonist just watches. A far cry from the man who became an asshole that we knew at the beginning of the anime. A proud man fighting for justice as best he can in a later episode of the show, risking it all. This undercooked piece of white bread stares as a kid is harassed by 2 older students. But he does get involved, after another character initiates with the bullies and gets pushed. And based on the previous footage, it's someone he has a crush on. Way to put your best foot forward, cream cheese on an English muffin. And I guess the director tries to show how smart Light is by having him recall the bully is nearly an adult and trying to use legalese to avoid getting his ass kicked. Instead of doing something that requires anything actually clever, like saying, this one teacher uses blanks, musical sheets, forms to make her multiple choice test or something to outsmart the bully and also give him a little bit, like, maybe show like that it's kind of unfair or something. That he was able to do something not incredibly obvious to who they cast that's barely a teenager. Though they did make a... Hold on, let me check my list. Pours a half gallon of milk into 2 ounces of coffee. Overconfident to the point where he gets punched, and the principal, I think, discovers Cauliflower Rice's cheating scheme. This next moment in the movie is supposed to be a moment of injustice, where our main character, Unseasoned Chicken Breast, is dealt unfair justice. However, the film seems to forget that he broke school rules too with the whole cheating thing. And he gets off with only 2 weeks of detention for having multiple students' homeworks. Damn, this mayo on a cheese sandwich is the epitome of privileged. Moving on. In detention, our lead takes out the book to examine it closer that he picked up from the rain.
Rule 1, the human whose name is written in this note shall die. Whoa. Rule 2, this note will not take effect unless the writer has the person's face in their mind when writing his or her name.
Upon meeting Ryuk, Light gets a shocking reveal that he shakes off after a second. I can barely tell the two characters apart.
You've taken quite a liking to it. No reason to act surprised. I am the Shinigami Ryuk. That used to be my notebook. Judging by your laughter, you've already figured out that what you have is no ordinary notebook.
Shinigami. A god of death, huh? Well, I'm not surprised. In fact, Ryuk, I've been waiting for you.
Oh?
I've already figured out that this death note I found is real.
So, let's talk about one of my biggest issues with this movie. How Ryuk is portrayed. How he works in the world, and some of the more problematic changes. Let's do the big one first, that he is now the bad angel instead of the tag-along observer that just happens to have a book of immense phenomenal power.
Just answer my question.
I didn't choose you. Don't you see this is all just an accident? You actually thought you were chosen because you're so smart or something? Don't be so vain. It just happened to fall around here and you just happened to pick it up. And that's all there is to it. That's why I wrote the instructions in English, the most popular language in the human world.
Then why did you drop it in the first place? You even wrote down specific instructions. So don't try to tell me this was an accident.
You're asking me why? I did it because I was bored.
He motivates Johnny Template to kill instead of Light, deciding to check it out for himself, filling up several pages before Ryuk even appears to him. Ryuk is also revealed to be the keeper of the Death Note, and makes it necessary for the notebook to be used instead of just being in the board with the Shinigami realm, which makes no appearance in this film because, hey, why have multiple death gods out there? That's just too complicated for us Americans to understand. We need just our football, our apple pie. No, not that football, the other football. Yeah, that one. Thank you. And, oh yeah, our blatant racism, because apparently that's required in this country. Never understood it. Anyway, these changes pile up to a majorly different character than the one we were expecting from the character of Ryuk that we get in the anime. And finally, we get the real reason for this fucking shit script in this shit movie. Final Destination level deaths. Because the director saw a concept he could butcher and use for his own purposes, because he couldn't be inspired by this and make a similar concept. Nah, we couldn't do that. He had to fuck over our goddamn thing. Which, you know, had spent years in adaptation hell trying to be something that has a very interesting concept, the Battle of the Minds. Instead, it's a 2-hour fucking boring, disturbed romance. We get cliche backstory that his mother died via hit and run and his father is IA, which SPF 5000 dislikes vehemently.
You do, instead of actually trying to solve real problems, you spend your life looking over people's shoulders so you can bust them for bullshit, like not turning in the reports or whatever.
Guns is only as good as his aim, son.
And storms off to his room to take further looks at the Death Note. I'm going to save my issues for what they did to the Death Note for later, when they return with a vengeance. Diet Light decides to use the notebook to avenge his mother's death, which cliche does work for the character. Of course, it's true, the true Light wouldn't do that because it would connect back to him, but that isn't that character, so let's move on. Light Turner meets up with Mia, who is the American version of Misa. Why did you go out of your way to change every character but try to keep their names? Like, you could have called them something else. That could have been Tim, and that could have been Jessica. I'm gonna call her Jessica. Maybe. Both Jessica and Misa are crazy. One is similar to a well-written Harley Quinn. One is a very poor character that tries to make Light less evil by comparison. Which wasn't my fucking issue with Light Yagami. I'm not supposed to like him by the end of the story. There is one scene in this movie that is quite blatantly a fuck you to the Death Note anime audience, which is when Light Turner decides to give the book to Jessica.
Please tell me this isn't your poetry journal.
When you see him, try not to freak out. I freaked out a little.
See who?
Behind you. It's okay.
What are you talking about?
Only the keeper of the note can see me.
Human whose name is written in this note shall die. Your poetry sucks.
We're doing quadratic equations in math. Sorry to interrupt. I know you're studying right now, but I'm like the only person in my class who doesn't get this stuff. Thanks so much.
No problem.
I'd be careful if I were you. If anyone else touches that notebook you've got hidden in the drawer right now, they'll be able to see me too.
He waits till now to mention that important detail? Damn Shinigami.
What's wrong? Are you all right?
It's nothing. So, what exactly don't you understand? What are you stuck on?
This movie didn't set up that concept, or that it could even be a possibility. It didn't even cover him talking to Ryuk in the public yet, which again, was covered in the very first fucking episode of the anime, and Light Turner ignores while Light Yagami immediately addresses. And, of course, which is a direct adaptation from the original, Light Turner thinks he can change the world with using the notebook.
You know, the thing is, I know what it's like to get fucked over. Some asshole killed my mom and got away with it until I got this book. I just keep thinking, I mean, why should it just be for me? I mean, all the people that make life miserable, make life dangerous, I can reach them now. Do you think that I'm crazy?
If anything, I think you're not crazy enough.
But brings Jessica along. We get a montage, which I do miss in films overall, but my problem with this scene is how they advertise how well he's doing by showing a train wreck. Which wouldn't have definitely killed any innocents at all. Then we get a dramatically different scene with our intro to L. Now I know he's a different character from the show, but that doesn't piss me off as much as Light Turner. But I'll keep that till near the end of the film for a certain point. In the next scene, they find a site of Kira worshippers, which he comes up with the name himself this time, instead of it being assigned by the people, where they conveniently post pictures and the names, because like at this point they don't know that he needs the pictures. Like it's weird that they're able to conveniently post pictures and the names as needed be of certain people that quote unquote escape justice. Light brings up the very valid reason that how would they actually know if they were guilty? Like, they're just random people. I'm definitely going to trust an anonymous that they are, posting people that are actually guilty. And then Mia, or Jessica, as I've been calling her, hand wipes it away, and the movie never addresses that flaw again. Elle and Detective Turner meet up, and with a accurate L-level deduction, they point, at the very least, being in the Seattle area with one of the tests that LT did to impress Mia, Light Turner.
2 mistakes. This is 0 Day, Kira's first recorded murders, but previously, on April 15th, convicted felon James W. Brody had taken his wife and children hostage.
I remember that. You think that was Kira?
Initial speculation was that his behavior was drug-related, but lost in the ensuing crush of Kira activities was the fact that Brody's toxicology had come back clean. The standoff had never made national news, and it was only broadcast on local Seattle stations.
After deducing his location, L does a speech where he does try to test Kira and sees he didn't die. A bit risky, but I feel this version of L might be willing to risk it. Of course, it's not also the same L, so...
Kita, if you're watching this, know that I am coming for you. Unless, of course, you'd like to kill me right now.
Now I'm rooting for this guy.
You just shut the fuck up.
No? Well,
What the fuck was that?
I have a theory. Kita cannot kill by simply sight alone. He needs a name and a face.
I'll save this clip for later, where it's important to a major plot point. Anyway, Light Turner and his father talk for a bit, where Light Turner realizes that if he ever gets caught, he won't have a good time because he will be prosecuted for all the murders he's committed. Or, at the very least, he will be dissected to figure out what makes him tick. Because that's also said in the movie. So, just putting that out there. Light Turner discovers that he is being followed by an FBI agent, but doesn't want to kill them, which leads to disagreements on several fronts from Jessica and Ryuk. The FBI all of a sudden drop dead. LT decides to blame Ryuk and threatens to write his name in the book, which clearly doesn't work because his name was already in the book already. You know, that whole don't trust Ryuk thing that was fucking shown earlier. Like, his name is in the book. It clearly didn't work. But for some reason, like, Ryuk's like...
You could try. But I warn you, there are 4 letters in my name. Most anyone's ever gotten were 2.
Okay, your name clearly doesn't work in the book. We don't need to worry about that. Anyway, Detective Turner holds a press conference where he willingly challenges Kira, and Light Turner has the option to kill him, but again, chooses not to, which points out to L the true identity of Kira. L confronts Kira in an interesting nightclub / gelato bar thing. Is that common in Seattle? Anyone in Seattle, tell me if that's common. Kira, confirming that this is his doing, gives away the message that I could see in this movie, which I'd deem probably the heaviest.
Eventually, you'll tell me which is correct.
What if it turned out that all arresting Kira did was give that power to someone else? Someone potentially much worse.
You're suggesting the ability is somehow transferable.
This is honestly like the heaviest message I can see in this movie, because the book has been dramatically changed, so it's required to be used every 7 days. Otherwise, it goes to a new owner. Why? There is no reason for that change. It is not a rule in the original anime at all. The so many fucking rules thing, that's their fault, by the way. They added the 95 rules. There were a total of like 35. And only 10 of them were ever read in the first fucking 10 episodes of this show. But if I'm not doing this, someone more evil would be, is, or at least to me, or anyone in the know of geopolitics, is the overall approach of the US's concept of peacetime occupation. Again, not sure if it's relevant, so move on. After a rain time makeout session between teenagers...
I'm a fucking cheerleader, Light. Nothing I do has ever mattered until I met you.
What the fuck's wrong with you, Adam? They used the notebook on Watari to get L's name. Now, remember that clip I wanted to save the face and a name?
What the fuck was that?
I have a theory. Kira cannot kill by simply sight alone. He needs a name and a face.
Why was L using an alias and Watari not? And furthermore, why does the notebook accept single word names? Watari is a single word name. It's also not his only name, because in the anime, it wasn't his name either. But honestly, this book is not the Death Note. There are too many things between the anime and this adaptation where it's just not the same fucking book. But let's look at its major flaws in relation to adaptation and in terms of writing a mystical item in general, because I've actually been working on a script for that, but I'll probably throw that one out. My personal problems with the adapted Death Note notebook. The rules are no longer a guideline, but a way for the hack director to add false tension for the characters and create convenient technicalities because the director set it up. It's technically Chekhov's gun. Apparently, Ryu can be affected by the Death Note, except when he can't because it's already written in there. Ryu complains that Light focuses too much on the rules, which is a problem that the director created for himself. The notebook's history, instead of being based on certain mythologies and various other things...
Where did it come from?
The history of the note is as long as history itself.
The notebook, again, stated earlier, the notebook has to be used. Instead of being a tool Light can use, and definitively wants to use because he wants to make a better world, because he thinks the world is scummy. Watari isn't his full name, so why can't L be affected? Why can't he just write L? Due to the rules of the book, Kira is able to possess Watari. Watari goes to find L's name. L gets pissed off that Watari is missing. Light Turner goes to a high school dance prom thing because it's an American movie. Watari discovers the L's name but is unable to give it in time before he dies, as Light can't seem to find and burn the page. Which leads to the biggest twist in the movie.
I wanted it to be yours.
There's so many fucking rules.
Now go get my goddamn book.
Mia, or Jessica as I've been calling her, the one who has been seen very obviously doing other Kira crimes that she said they should do and did occur after she got into an argument where Ming Light said no. Mia says to him that she wrote his name into the Death Note and that she will burn his page after he trades it with her. But I think the writer forgot because they haven't burnt any pages yet, so I'm pretty sure Light can just burn his own page. Because it's still in the book. It's still in the book, because for some reason she didn't like write it on a different page. Say, I've got this page right here, and I'll burn it once you give me the notebook. But that's not it. But hey, this is supposed to be genius Light Turner. He's supposed to figure out another way around this. It's not like Light could just burn the page, tell her to piss off, or kill her himself. Nah. It has to make stupider sense. There is an alright chase between Bleach personified and L, at least at the beginning and at the end. Like, I'm not fully sure if it should have been the way it was, but for me, I saw it as L started as cold and calculated while Kira was constantly running away scared, so constantly making a mess. But L started making more mistakes himself, trying to dealing with his anger. You know, because Watari and stuff. Again, not the original characters from the anime, but they kind of like their characters that they should be in this story. And the end of the chase is probably the best scene with the whole Kira worship her like payoff thing. Though I kind of wish it was done better. Like how the anime had to fucking just way too many people trying to take down one headquarters. That was actually pretty good in the show. It was actually after Elle's death, and it was like the last 3 episodes, I think. Anyway, Mia and Light Turner get to the Ferris wheel, and we get a reveal of conditional deaths. Okay, just moving on. Mia dies, and we cut to a few days later. Light Turner is in a coma, and we see a mysterious figure pass him the notebook. Elle figures out that there is a seized page of the notebook. Light Turner wakes up, and Detective Turner discovers the truth. Elle finds the page that Mia had at the beginning, and the movie ends.
Interesting.
As you can probably tell, I've been calling Light Turner by as many names, trying to avoid calling him Light, as he's the furthest from his original character, to the point that 3 minutes into this movie, they were uncomparable as characters. And it just got worse from there. The last 15 minutes are so full of bullshit, I am not surprised the director wants to make a sequel. But I don't want that. When there was a greater story that Adam Wingard did not want to use, but wanted the fans of the original work to give him money to watch. Because that's the only reason he called it Death Note. And that's the only reason why Elle is named Elle, Light is named Light, Mia is named Mia. That's why his father's a detective, though that one's a bit more of a stretch, but that's why all these like in-name adaptation things are here. Because he wanted people to come watch this. He wanted the fans of the original to watch this. And to you, Mr. Wingard, I have one thing to say. But I think it's better if a way better man than I say it.
When you're like getting the fucking the shits from a bunch of people that are like, you're ruining the thing I love, you're not gonna be like, oh, those people. You're gonna be like, fuck them. You know?
Fuck them. Except that's your audience. That's the people you're ostensibly trying to sell the game to.
And it's the same thing we would say to people that like make movies where you're like, why are you bringing this back?
Why are you bothering?
Like, the thing that you want recognition, and therefore, like, you're capitalizing on a name that exists because it means something to someone. So you kind of are implying that you do care. Because you wouldn't have gone with this name and brand and content.
You can't tell me I care.
If you didn't want to use the emotional attachment that people already have to this brand.
Special thanks, as always, goes to Xavier for the music, Adrian for the graphics, that they've been updated. Thank you very much, Adrian. And actually, there's no one else. Actually, let's give out a thank you to Stu Reserve for putting me through this. I turned 21 while I was writing this review, so I was legally able to drink through the rest of it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I have nothing planned, but because this is releasing so late, I'll probably find another Bibleman episode. I have like 13. That'll last me, what? That'll last me, what, 10 years at least? Because I'll definitely review some Bibleman other times of the year instead of December. But I'll try and focus it only in December. But, again, thank you so much for watching, and, as always, see you next time.